Right, winter storage tips. I know I'm a bit late to the party because it's almost Christmas, but many of you will have already put your bike away for the winter. Some of you might be riding all year round, and even if that's the case, then some of this will apply to you as well. But even if you have put your bike away already, there might be one or two things that you haven't done, maybe from the list that I'm going to go through, and you might find this useful. So, winter storage tips. These are in no particular order, but the first thing I will say, folks, is clean your bikes. The last thing you want is dirt and grime sitting on the bike, sitting on all your nuts and bolts and your drivetrain and anywhere that could cause rust. The cleaner your bike is, the healthier it's going to be over those winter months when it's stored away. I'm not going to go into how to clean it. I'm not going to go into what to use. I use loads of really good products, and if anybody has any questions, let me know and I will get back to you, and I'll recommend some products. But there are loads of really good products out there. Just make sure it's clean and make sure it's dry before you stick it away. Once it's clean and dry, do something to protect your paintwork. Maybe put a bit of what's the word? Yeah, a bit of polish or a bit of wax over there. Even your paintwork over time, as dust starts to settle on the bike, which is why you should use the cover ideally. It can affect your paintwork, so if you care about your bike, then yeah, maybe protect your paintwork a little bit. Rust, right, let's talk about rust specifically. Use an anti-corrosion spray or an anti-corrosion coating, something like ACF 50, muck-off HCB1, something to protect and minimise the chance of rust developing on all of the surfaces where you would expect rust to be. For your drivetrain, however, I would only recommend using chain lube. Give your chain a really good clean, make sure it's dry, and then put lube on your chain. That's what chain lube is designed for. It's designed to prevent rust. It's not really designed to actually lubricate the chain, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole and explain what I mean by that. But yeah, protect your chain with chain lube. If it's winter storage, then put a little bit extra chain lube on than you normally would, because chain lube will help prevent rust. And then if over time, every now and again, when you check the bike, if you noticed a little bit of rust, then deal with it. Bit of GT85, little bit of emery cloth to get rid of the rust if need be. Be careful of the O-rings or the X-rings when you're doing that, and then put a bit of lube back over the top of it once you've dealt with it. Then I would use some sort of protectant on your electrical connections, battery terminals. Even if you're taking the battery off, have a look at the end of your battery wires, make sure they're protected against rust as well. Your electrical connectors behind your radiators or your fan connectors, for example, any relays, anything that's exposed, any electrical connectors that could be corroded over time because of moisture getting into the little wires and the little metal parts of those connectors. Use something like ACF 50 again, you could use, for example. Any anti-corrosion spray that's safe on electrics you could use. What I would recommend and what I use is dielectric grease. It is designed exactly for that, to protect electrical connections against moisture. Next thing is maybe get it up on paddock stands if you've got front and rear paddock stands. If your bike is sat on the ground and it's on a cold ground, then rotate the wheels every now and again so that it's not sat on the same spot. Increase your tyre pressures. Tyres will lose pressure over time in cold weather. Increase your pressures to slightly above the maximum pressure for that tyre. So if it's 42 for the rear is a maximum pressure, put it up to 44 and then check them every now and again. If you can get them up on paddock stands, even better. What else? Yes, use a cover. Now I do use a cover. I've taken it off and I take it off every now and again, and here's why. If you use a bike cover, whether it's indoors or outdoors, you will still get condensation building up underneath the cover, and that condensation will settle and it will look like your bike and your frame and all your metal parts are sweating. It's important that every now and again you take that cover off for a few hours, let the bike breathe, dry the bike down, deal with any slight tiny bits of rust that are starting to appear before recovering again. Even if it's indoors, folks, I would do that, do the same. What else? Fuel tank. Now, There's a debate out there, really, I guess, that exists whether you should drain your fuel tank or whether you should fill it. Well, you could do both. Well, not both, you could do either. So if you drain your fuel tank, to be honest, that's a bit of a pain in the arse, because if you're going to drain it, you've got to drain it completely. You've got to try and get the fuel out of all your fuel lines in an ideal world, and the inside of the tank has got to be completely dry. That's a lot of work. The easiest thing to do, folks, is completely fill your tank so that there's no air in the tank, and then add some fuel stabilizer. Fuel stabilizer, if you use it, check the instructions and make sure you have the right amount for your size of tank. Don't just dump a whole load of fuel stabilizer in there. If you do use fuel stabilizer, when you put it in, rock the bike around, slosh the fuel stabilizer around to mix it, and then run the bike for about 5 minutes or so, giving it some gentle, very gentle revs, just getting that fuel stabilizer flowing all the way through the system. Then turn your bike off and then leave it until you're ready to ride it again in the spring. Don't start the bike up every now and again over winter.
Stop, huh? Stop, huh?
All that does, it causes heat. You switch the bike off, that heat, hot air condenses inside the engine, turns to moisture, and you can cause rust inside the engine. Don't run your bike every now and again for a few minutes, 10 minutes over winter. Either ride it or leave it, simple as that. And yeah, I think that's it that comes to mind, folks. But yeah, just keep checking it every now and again, because even a bike over winter, as it sits, you know, you just want to check it. You want to make sure it stays clean. You want to try and keep it as dry as possible. Deal with any rust or any issues that might start developing. And yeah, some people use a battery optimizer on their battery. Nothing wrong with that. Some people take the battery off and store it indoors. Nothing wrong with that. What I would recommend is, regardless, before you use the bike in the spring, is get a voltmeter and just double check the battery. Most bike batteries should be reading about 12.5 when the bike's not running, up to about, I think, 13.5 to 14 volts when the bike is running. So yeah, just check the health of your battery before you start riding again, so that you don't start riding and then 2 days later your battery's dead and you've got to get a new one anyway. So yeah, take the battery out or leave it connected, or get an optimizer. It's up to you, but check your battery before you start riding. So yeah, I think that's it, folks. I've tried to make this as short as possible. If anybody's got any questions, if you want to know a bit more detail about any of this, then just give me a shout. I've probably missed something, to be fair. There's probably other things that you would do, so feel free to make some other recommendations in the comments as well.